Alright, so this is a BMW. It's an E90. It's the efficient dynamics model. I like this car. However, a while ago when I got it, it didn't have it had the fabric interior. You can see out there, it had that interior in it. Now, of course, I didn't mind that, but I really liked the cream leather. So, of course, I found some cream leather seats, and I swapped them out, which was a fairly easy task on bolts to do and all that stuff. You've got some bolts around here and everything just pops out, which is easy enough. But of course, I ran into one problem, which apparently, from what I've been reading, is quite a common problem when you switch out the seats in your car for some other seats, which probably came from an older model. So I think these seats came from an older model, and so of course what I found was underneath the seat, when I went to go plug everything back in, there was a little white connector that my old seats had, that these ones didn't. And then I thought, oh crap, so I had to just leave it disconnected, put the seats on, turn the battery, connect the battery, and put the car back on. And of course the car dash is complaining of airbag warnings and throwing up all that stuff. So I thought, oh gosh. So I did some reading, and then there's lots of options that people have considered. You can recode the car. So firstly, that white connector that I found at the bottom there is for something called the Active Headrests, and what that's for is that in the event of a rear collision, the headrests pop out. They sort of pop forward to stop you getting whiplash, or reduce whiplash. That's the idea of them. Of course, the older BMWs didn't have this, so I figured, okay, let's just try and recode my car so it doesn't look for the airbags. But that well, that's not an easy task, and I didn't really want to mess with the car's coding. So the other option, of course, is to try and fool the car into thinking that using a resistor to fool the car into thinking that the thing is still connected. So I didn't want to do that because that just seemed a bit dodgy to me. So instead I've opted for the other option, and that is to see if I could remove the actual active headrest unit from the old seat and put it in the headrest of the new seat, and using the cover of, just taking the leather cover off and of the old seat, putting on the new seat. So here's what I've done. As you can see, it's not perfect. You'll see the leather is not completely the perfect shape for it. There's some, you could bit of stretching going on here, and it's okay. It's not bad. I mean, I'm quite happy to live with it. It's not bad. Here's like one I didn't do, so that's sort of what it looks like without the active headrest in it from the other seats. So for me, I think this is the safest option, because now I've still got the active headrest in there from the front. It looks all right. So I will go through that now, swapping out fixing the airbag problem by taking the active headrest unit and putting it in an older E90 seat headrest. So let's do this. First thing you want to do is get your old headrest out and from the car, and so this is the old one without the active headrest. This is the old seat, but this has got the active headrest in it. So we're going to remove the active headrest from there and stick it in there. To get to the wiring, which is connected to the active headrest, you have to remove this back panel. To do that, there are these two clips. You've got to pry them out. It's very recommended if you've got set of trim removal tools, just go in and remove those clips. So clips are released. You probably will damage them trying to get them out, but that's okay, they're easily replaced. Now the next thing to do is you pull this down, twist, then it comes out. So now you can see the wiring coming down from the headrest going into there. So what we're going to do, we're going to remove all of this. So we're going to remove this wire, we're going to unpick all the cable that's going to this white connector down to the bottom of the seat, unpick it. There's to be some cable ties there you'll have to just cut off, like one there and another one in there. You'll just have to just unpick all of this wiring and remove that cable, and this little clip here, take that off as well, because that's very handy, because you'll need that on the old on the new seat. You can put that on. Yeah, so let's do that. Well, firstly we've got to get this headrest out as well, so let's do that. Right, so there's the cable removed. Very important that, so set that aside, because you're going to need that cable to fit into your new seat. So let's keep that with that. Also, remove your about time to remove the headrest from the old seat. So this one has got the active headrest, this one hasn't. So we're going to take the cover off this, cover off that, and just swap over the internals, and keep this wire. So and just another thing, remove that, because you're going to need that. You know, you could use it if you don't. I mean, I want to use it because it was basically fastened on down there. You just unclip it, and that is what secures the cable onto the back of the seat. So set that aside. Just another little thing, to get the headrest out, you firstly have to pull this little plastic ring up, and you'll find this little white clip just sitting in there, kind of like that. Pull it out, and then you should be able to just release and pull the headrest out with the cable going through the hole. So that's how you get the headrest out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the covers off. Firstly the old headrest, new headrest, we're going to swap out, so let's do that. Right, so this is the old headrest, which hasn't got the active headrest. What we're going to do is we're going to just unpick these folds, if you like. We're going to go for this side first. So that side first, because that's the easier bit to get. And we're going to release this this centre bit, release the two outers, and then it will make this right hand side a lot easier to get out. So I've just released the centre bit, and just to show you how it comes off, you can see there's a little ridge there, and that goes into, basically just hooks into those tiny little clips there, if you can see. So the best way I found is just to get a screwdriver all the way down the middle and just try and release those clips. And now it would be really easy to do those two sides, and then the centre. So there you go. They're all released, those clips. Now the first thing to do is don't try and get this cover off straight away. What you have to do is, the first thing to come out is this whole plastic unit. So that plastic unit with the metal bars will come out first. Then you can squish the foam down to get it out of the cover, which we'll do now. As you can see, plastic bit will come out first. Just a bit of wrestling around, and then we'll come straight out. Difficult to do with one hand, but you get the idea. So that will just pull straight out, and then the foam will be easy to get out then. Right, so the foam will just come out now. You can just sort of squish it, set around. That foam will come out just like that. Now what we're going to do, the cover there. So yeah, so let's do the same thing to the old headrest with the active thing in it. Right, so as you can see, the procedure is pretty much the same. Releasing these clips here, they're pretty much made in the same way, but you've got that little clip there which hooks into those little plastic clips there. Use a screwdriver to release them, and same thing as before. The plastic bit will come out first, then the foam comes out afterwards. So let's do that. Right, so there you go. There is the active headrest removed. Little cable there. So I guess what you could do, I'm going to take the foam out of here in a minute, but what you could do, if you're a bit pedantic of how it looks, I mean I am slightly, but not overly, but obviously these are different. The moulding inside of here is different from the moulding inside of there, so I'm just going to take the foam and from here and stick it in the leather cover. But what I guess you could do is you could probably, because this foam here came from the leather head, the leather one, and is moulded perfectly to the shape of the leather cover, you could just cut the inside of the foam here to match the shape of the active headrest. I'm not going to do that because I'm not too fussed about a few creases here and there. So I'm just going to take the foam out of there because the actual covers are slightly different shapes, so the leather cover is slightly larger, hence you'll get a little bit of creasing. But what you could do is, once it's in with this foam, you could just pad it out with some extra foam just to spread out the creasing. Yeah, which I might do at another time. But for now, let's just get the stuff swapped over. Right, so that's the headrest with the foam from the old headrest with the active technology into the leather cover. So it's not too bad. I mean, there is some bit of creasing going on here. It's not a perfect fit, but I don't think it looks too bad. I mean, you could pad out those bits with foam and stretch it out a little bit more. But I think the main thing is, for me, I just want to get rid of those airbag warning lights coming up when I start the car, because I'm pretty sure that's an MOT failure. Yeah, a bit of crease in there. But so that is now the active headrest slotted into the foam. Just work it way in there just to get the foam all just sitting nicely where it used to. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to push these little plastic clips back into there, and we're all done, and we can fit it into the car. Let's put back all nicely. Overall not bad. Bit of crease in there, but it's alright. So now let's stick this back in the car and wire it up. Got to get that cable wired into that seat there, and then connected into the bottom. So let's do that. Right, so now inside the car I've got the headrest with the active gubbins mounted on. That's sitting on there nicely, and underneath I've fed the cable through nicely, and I've used that clip that was on the other seat and stuck that back on there, and the cable that I've removed, I've now got that going sort of around there. Try to follow the pattern of how it was in the last seat, going around there. I've got I've cable tied it just there. I'm not being overly pedantic about how neat it is, but the tricky bit I found was just threading it through. So I've released this little bit of this fabric that comes off, and threading it through this corner here, so you can just about put your finger through to basically thread out through this corner here, leaving the cable that you now have to plug into the car, which is easy enough. So I'm going to leave it there, and hopefully, I haven't tried this yet, when I connect the battery, hopefully that should fix the airbag warnings I've been getting. So yeah, I hope this has helped somebody out if you want to swap out your seats in your E90 and your seats happen to come from perhaps an older E90, one without the active headrest gubbins. See you later. I knew this wasn't going to be a straightforward bloody task. So I use this thing called Carly to hook up to the car, and because I plugged in the active headrests back into the car, I got everything switched back on, and the car was still complaining. So I plugged that in and I read the codes that were coming out, and there were 3 faults on the airbag system that were coming up. The 2 of them were for the headrest, so I cleared those. The third was another one which I was unfamiliar with. So I cleared those codes using this, and those 2 codes for the headrest got cleared. Do another diagnostic check with this thing again, and there was one code that just kept coming back, and it was a 9004, I think it was. It was a 9004. So let's just have a look, because I was doing a bit of looking into what the hell that code is. I think it was a 9004, 9400. 9400. My bad. So 9400. Seat occupancy detector, passenger incorrect type. That's exactly the error that was coming up. It was coming up with SBE 9400, and so that's the last error I've got now. That's coming up when I try and get rid of the airbag warnings. So to that end, I have ripped out this is the seat occupancy sensor from the old seat. Now this is just on the it's only complaining about the passenger side. I don't think the driver's side has one. So I've ripped this out of the passenger seat of my old seat, and now I have the task of now fitting this into the passenger seat of the leather one. Bloody hell. So I'll probably do a video on that, because that's going to require, I'll probably just take the seat out, bring it indoors. I'm going to have to remove all of the plastic stuff. I'm going to have to remove the leather covering from the seat, unpick, there's these little metal rings that secure the fabric to the foam. I'm going to have to unpick those. Then I'm going to have to install this detector on that, feed the wires through. Then of course I'm going to have to modify the connector. So under the seat there's a very fat orange connector which hooks up the airbags and the occupancy detector. I'm going to have to open up the connector for the old seat, rip out the pins for the occupancy detector and put them in the connector for the new seat in the same place. I'm not looking forward to that. See you later.